Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hi, hey, hello. I don't know if you can hear me. It's pouring rain. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. Anyways, I wanted to hop on real quick and share with you guys one of my favorite processes of studying as a convert to Islam from Christianity.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kita jumpa lagi dengan postingan reaksi yang kali ini. Ada beberapa wanita-wanita muslim yang sudah mualaf dari beberapa negara dengan segala macam kesan dan pengalamannya pada saat hijrahnya menjadi mualaf. Ada beberapa reaksi dan juga berbagai macam ragam perasaan yang mereka rasakan dan diungkapkan di media sosial. Dan cukup menarik, ini bisa menjadi inspirasi bagi kita semua. Tanpa banyak basa-basi, yuk coba kita lihat, simak cuplikan videonya.
It's been a minute since we talked, so let's talk. So my mom and I just moved into a new house, and alhamdulillah, like I finally have all my stuff back. So obviously for the past 10 months since I had gotten divorced, I ended up putting everything like my previous home into a storage unit, so I didn't have anything, and I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with my mom, and I didn't have space for my things, and alhamdulillah, like I have all of that now. But I wanted to talk about Ramadan because Ramadan is coming up, and this is the first Ramadan that I am kind of like I'm going through really as a revert. This is my second Ramadan, like celebrating it while I'm still living like with my mom, but this year it's much more different because it's almost been 6 years since I became Muslim, and you know, like my first Ramadan I was still getting used to things. I was still very new to the religion. It was very different. Now like I have this deep and profound like love and connection with Islam, so to be celebrating it alone is kind of like it's new for sure, and I'm so excited. Don't get me wrong, I think this is all part of my journey. Like really, Allah is the best of planners, and I have no doubt about that. With that being said, like at the thought of waking up for suhoor alone and then fasting all day and like not really having anybody to relate to at home it's kind of like it's a little bit sad, I'm not gonna lie. Bittersweet, I think, is a better word. But again, I really believe this is all part of my journey, and I'm meant to go through this for a bigger reason. And I know Allah makes no mistakes. So I obviously always think of reverts, because even if, let's say, you're married and you know your husband is Muslim, there's always that part of you who feels kind of left out or sad because it's like you wish your family could just be a part of this. But this year I'm thinking of those who live with their non-Muslim families, and especially for those whose families are not accepting. Like alhamdulillah, my mom is very accepting, but I can't imagine otherwise.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hi, hey, hello. I don't know if you can hear me. It's pouring rain. Alhamdulillah. Allahu Akbar. Anyways, I wanted to hop on real quick and share with you guys one of my favorite processes of studying as a convert to Islam from Christianity. So right here is my Bible. I grew up with this Bible. There are tabs and highlights and papers from 15 years ago in this Bible. And here we have my favorite copy, my favorite translation of the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran in today's English by Yahya Imran. Now, my favorite thing to do is while I'm studying my Quran or just reading the translation here, I like to cross-reference it with my Bible. Now, I love having this conversation and doing this with my husband because as a born Muslim, he wasn't really exposed to the Bible or the Torah or anything, you know, he just read the Quran growing up. But I, however, am a huge believer in the fact that Islam is the final Abrahamic religion. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the seal on the Abrahamic religions from Allah. We as Muslims are told to love and respect the gospel and the previous prophets that were sent from Allah. And I think it's very important that we do our due diligence in understanding all of these religions and where our religion comes from. We know that when the Muslims escaped and went to the Abyssinian king, one thing that they did was recite from the Quran about Isa, may Allah be pleased with him. And the Abyssinian king was like, how do you know about these revelations? How do you know about him and his life? And they were like, the Quran, duh. So just for funsies, I wanted to hop on here and show you some of my studies and some of my reflections, which I think is just fun. I'm currently on the chapter Al-Ma'iddah from the Quran. It's the banquet table. And in this chapter, we do have a lot of heavy discussion around Musa alayhi salam, or Moses. So to bring you up to speed, we're on the part where Musa alayhi salam is bringing the people into the land of Canaan to find safety, right? And they're terrified. But Moses, they cried, there's a powerful nation already here in this land, and we'll never be able to enter it unless they leave. If they go away, then and only then can we go in. However, two God-fearing men, upon whom Allah had granted his favor, came forward and boldly suggested, enter their main stronghold through a certain entrance. We have discovered it on our scouting mission. When you're inside the walls of the city, the victory will be yours. Trust in Allah if you really have faith. Now, if you're a Christian, you know this story. And if you are a Christian, you should know that the Bible tells us in Numbers specifically that these men are Caleb and Joshua. And that Caleb and Joshua were not able to convince people to go. And because they were not able to convince them, Allah said, okay, fine, you will be not allowed to enter for 40 years as your punishment because you do not trust and believe in me. So they wandered the desert for 40 years. During this time, Musa alayhi salam passed away and Joshua had to take over for him, right? And this is the fun part. Now we're going to go to my Bible here and we're going to turn to Numbers, which is very early on in the Old Testament, right here. Numbers. Leviticus, Numbers. So now for my Muslim homies who are not familiar with the Bible, I'm going to read to you guys the story from Numbers, and it's beautiful. Now it's around chapter 14, I'm going to skim a little bit. That night all the people of the community raised their voices and wept aloud. All the Israelites grumbled against Moses and Aaron, and the whole assembly said to them, if only we had died in Egypt or in this desert. Why would the Lord bring us to this land only to let us be followed by the sword? They're all convinced their children and women are going to be just pillaged. It's a whole thing. Then Musa, Moses, and Harun, Aaron fell face down in front of the Israelite assembly gathered there, and Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, who were among those who had been told to explore the land, tore their clothes and said to the entire Israelite assembly, the land we passed through and explored is exceedingly good. If the Lord is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land of flowing milk and honey, and will give it to us. Do not be afraid of the people there, for he will swallow them up. Their protection is gone. The Lord is with us, so do not fear. So the Bible tells us that there were 12 spies that went, and the Quran mentions 2 men, which we know from the Bible as Caleb and Joshua. Anywho, doing this for me is so satisfying. It's so fulfilling. I love being able to just prove over and over and over that Islam is the truth. Islam came down to finalize all of the Abrahamic religions. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was the seal of the prophets. And if you want to hear more information about this, if you enjoy this kind of comparative studies that I like to do on my own, let me know and maybe I'll share more with you from the Quran and the Bible, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. I'm back at the same place where I did my shahada because I have another important message. But first things first, today is day 6 of fasting during Shawwal, so the last day. I said that I was going to take a few days off and then fast again for the days that I didn't fast during Ramadan. But I'm going to travel, so I think that I'm going to start a bit later again, probably from Monday on, God willing. So back to the message. I have decided on a Muslim name because I need to register at the local mosque so that I can have a certificate to be able to travel to Mecca and Medina. Because actually I have dreamt a few times about being at the Kaaba. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad sign, but I just feel like I have to go, you know? So back to the name. Yeah, I put quite some thought into it because I wanted something that was like good for me, you know, like special for me. So I started looking up the significance of my own name, and Melanie comes from Greek, and the meaning is darkness. Yeah, my parents probably didn't know that when they chose my name because they didn't have internet, but now that I found Islam and I'm strengthening my connection with God, I think it's appropriate to change darkness to light. And the Arabic word is Nur. So I'm going to change my name to Nora. What do you think about it? Well, it's already decided, so your opinions are not going to change anything, but I hope that you like it. I love it, for real. From darkness to light, like it's perfect. I feel like it's perfect, you know. But please keep using my own name, you know, Melanie, because that's the name that I've been hearing all my life, and that's the name that my parents gave to me, so it's also like respect to my parents. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm really happy. So yeah, we'll see each other in my next video, okay? Bye-bye.
Assalamualaikum guys. Yesterday when I was doing Isha, I heard Allah ask me a question. Do you have any regrets after converting to Islam? Allah knows everything. He knows that recently I have received a lot of judgmental, even hatred comments and messages from both Muslim and non-Muslim. So he asked me if I have any regret. I thought about it, and I think if there is any regret, it is I didn't meet Allah earlier in my life. If I could meet him earlier, my life will be different. It doesn't mean that I don't enjoy my life now. It means that I would take less detours in the process in finding my inner peace and my self-acceptance. And this is something I want for you guys. To be honest, finding that inner peace is much more challengeable for people like us who growing up in atheist families and also in an environment where there is a tendency that people think material perceptions and also physical comfort is more important than spiritual values. You know, in our growing process, there are a lot of times we may feel we need a shoulder to cry on. This need is right, but also it may lead us to wrong people or wrong methods that may be creating more chaos or traumas in our life. No matter you want to heal your intimate relationship or you lost the pain of someone or past traumas and so on. Take myself as an example. In the past few years, I spent a lot of time and money on things like therapy, meditation, traveling, and yoga, and so on to heal myself. They helped, but none of this truly made me feel constant peace until I started to believe in Allah and pray. Because the true inner peace doesn't come from the outside things. It comes from within ourselves, within our hearts. And building a relationship with Allah requires our hard work. It's a process of facing our fears, our doubts, our difficult questions, and also change ourselves inside and out. And it took me years to realize that it is okay that I cannot find a shoulder to cry on, because I always have a ground to put my head down and shed my tears to Allah. But our final meetings with Allah, it's an arrangement of Him. And no matter how many details we take in the process, it's worth it as long as we finally go back to Him and to our own inner heart.
Sangat luar biasa ya, sangat benar-benar mereka punya pengalaman yang berbeda-beda dan mereka juga menuangkannya dalam kesan dan perasaan yang mereka rasakan. Dan tentunya ini sangat menginspirasi bagi para tentunya kita, khususnya saya pribadi yang sudah menjadi muslim sejak lahir, untuk bisa terus meningkatkan keimanan dan ketakwaan. Ya. Nah, memang pada dasarnya mereka sendiri yang baru memeluk agama Islam itu merasakan seperti apa kedamaian, ketenangan hatinya. Semoga saja bisa menginspirasi banyak orang. Jika Anda menyukai video ini, silahkan like dan silahkan sebarkan jika memang bermanfaat. Terima kasih menonton. Sampai jumpa kembali di postingan berikutnya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.